Everybody ready? Okay. First, I want to thank everybody for coming here today. This is the press conference that announces, at least in the southeastern part of the state, the filing of a civil action against the putative private defendants or contractors and designers and such of the gangway that tragically collapsed in October. We want to thank the local community for embracing this initiative to try to get justice and shed light on Sapelo Island. We want to thank any political figures and legislators, whether local, state, or federal, in support of this effort. We want to thank the news for coming out, and we want to thank, most importantly, the system of laws in which we're a part. That system is really the only real way that a lot of folks will get justice in this case. I want to bring us back to what's important. When I was asked to get involved with this case, the first thing that was asked of me was, Attorney Mance, do not allow anyone to forget about the history and the plight of Sapelo Island. And I promised on the island, I promised here, and I promised in other places that I would not allow that to happen. And so when we look at this civil action, I encourage everybody to look at it in broader historical context. And what we mean by that is in the context of an island with resources that have really been deprived over a number of long-standing years. And that culminated in negligence that resulted in a gangway collapse. A few brief points on Sapelo Island. It's a barrier island, and one of the last barrier islands with indigenous black folks that have an ownership interest in that island here in America, certainly in southeast Georgia. And that island has been chipped away over years. People have built on it, occupied it. They had to fight for a gangway to even be erected properly under ADA compliance. And that was recent, and that is what gives rise to this gangway. There's been litigation over that island and inappropriate occupation of it. And really, Sapelo Island in some ways is like a Cuba in America. If you ever had an opportunity to go to Sapelo, you see, dated everything. That's not by choice, that's by commerce, and that's by structural inequality. And so that same structural inequality is what quite literally gave rise to a structural danger known as the gangway collapse, without getting too deep into the history. So we are here today because we have filed a civil action, and that civil action is against several individuals specified in the complaint that should have been circulated to you all. That complaint has been filed. It has been filed in Gwinnett County State Court, and that complaint essentially alleges that there was an improper design, improper maintenance, and an improper sort of building overall process that led to this gangway not being able to withstand the appropriate load and culminating in the collapse in October. Now, the gangway was a part of a dock rehabilitation project, as alluded to, and that was required by a 2020 civil rights settlement that we just spoke of. And as part of that settlement, the gangway was supposed to be built up to certain specifications. That, of course, did not happen. As part of the process, there was supposed to have been an approval of certain specifications by a certified professional engineer as outlined in the complaint. Unfortunately, that did not happen as well. And there have been similar complaints of the gangway posing problems prior to the collapse. And indeed, there was a gangway collapse on St. Mary's Island not long before this collapse. All of this was an alarming red flag or set of red flags that should have prompted the appropriate entities, the putative defendants, and others to take the appropriate safety measures to make sure that a gangway that is the chief source of transportation in and off the island was appropriately maintained. Now, the lawsuit goes into allegations of ordinary negligence and professional negligence. It tells in depth the story of the gangway, and it is appropriately, it's over 100 pages long. We have a legal team of lawyers spanning from Philadelphia to Atlanta to Savannah, Georgia, and beyond. And we intend to fully and appropriately get justice for these clients. And so what I would like to do at this stage is I would like to have some folks come up and share what they have experienced as a result of the gangway collapse, very briefly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my client, Miss Janice. So bear with her, but of course I'm biased, and I want Miss Janice to kind of share what she has gone through as a result of this, and then I'm going to start with the if they want to share anything. If they don't, that's fine. I know some folks don't want to. And then what we'll do is we will open it up to questions, okay? All right, Miss Janice, I'm here with you.
Okay.
Okay.
Hello. Of course, you know my name is Janice Carroll. For me, that day started out as an exciting moment for me because I've never been to Sapelo. First time experience, was excited to see what it was about, how it looked over there. Enjoyed the event. Coming back was something totally different than I didn't expect. And from that, I still have some problems with it, but I'm still here. That's it.
Thank you. Woods, would y'all say? Mr.
Hello, everyone. Michael Wood. For me, my mother, she grew up on Sapelo Island, so that day we were going to take my wife, we were going to take our two daughters over there for the first time to visit. We had an excellent time over there. As Ms. Janice said, you know, coming back from the island, tragedy that had occurred. It's been tough. We have, at the time, an 8-year-old daughter, and our youngest was 2 years old. It's been tough on them, especially our 8-year-old daughter. She talks about it a lot. Sometimes have issues with, you know, thinking about getting on boats. For myself, you know, sleep, you know, replaying everything in my mind. Seeing my daughter hanging on the side, finding out my wife and my youngest daughter are it's just rough, but, you know, just taking it a day at a time and, you know, just trying to be there for my wife and my family.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Is there anybody else among the Woods that want to share anything? Okay. And if you don't know the Woods are an extremely tight family. One of the things that impressed me about y'all was the closeness of your family unit. And when I met you, I saw a reflection of my own family that day. And the moral of that story is it could have been anybody's family out there that day. That celebration was the largest in modern times for Sapelo Island. It had continued to grow, and folks locally and statewide knew that it was one of the largest celebrations dedicated to this island, and still this happened. And so I want to read the letter that Chairman Representative Carl has in support of this cause, out of respect for the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus. And that letter can be made available to whomever would like to read it or see it. after this conference. June 11th, 2025. Dear Attorney Mance, I hope this letter finds you well. I am writing to express my unwavering support for your upcoming press conference regarding the tragic incident involving the Sapelo Island 7 who lost their lives in an unfortunate accident last year. The gravity of this situation cannot be overstated, and it is imperative that we honor the memories who were lost and advocate for their families. The tragedy on Sapelo Island has deeply affected not only of the victims, but also our entire community. Many witnessed the events that unfolded that day, and the of those who were present, the loved ones left behind. It is our collective responsibility to ensure that their voices are heard and that their stories are acknowledged as we seek the upcoming press conference. I want to reaffirm my commitment to support your effort. This is not only an opportunity to shed light on the circumstances surrounding this tragic event, but also to amplify the need for half of those who died and visit Sapelo Island. Justice must prevail. Yours in service, Carl Gilliard, Representative, Chairman Emeritus, Georgia Legislative Black Caucus. And so what we have, effort. Cases like these don't come along often. Thank God they don't. But when they do, so at this time I won't entertain any questions. Press conference at this time. Do we have? The lawsuit which circulated or will be circulated to you, named in the case, and I will read as they are. Stevens and Inc., EMC Engineering Services Inc., and Crescent Equipment Company Inc., doing business as Green Access. I am not aware. And is always an option, and the parties do encourage a timely and expedient. But our focus is for these clients. Now, ask a question: what damages are we seeking? Of course, the enlightened conscience of the jury might interpret. Okay, I can tell you is that the logical are no joke. Client heart. This is a tragedy of unbelievable proportions, and it is almost so hard to believe that you have to get in the water yourself to feel. And so we will be seeking maximum justice, unfettered justice, justice for these clients. And these are the best firms in the country. And so if there's ever an opportunity to get justice, this is it. This is it.
John Stevens for Jax. Does
yes,
this lawsuit include the family standing here as well as the families?
Yes. Yes, it's a consolidation.
So you guys had to go through those by the Department of Natural Resources,
yes,
which was just really a trove of records.
Absolutely.
How long did it take you guys to get through that and then name each of these companies?
Well, of course, every firm had its own process, right? I can tell you it's dozens and dozens and dozens of hours to do that. I can't give you the exact time.
Yeah.
Anything, and thank God for sunshine laws, because sunshine laws allow us to open the windows into what happens when a government does business with a private contractor. And those laws, we wouldn't be able to have the data that led to this civil action. So, yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Jasmine.
Hi, Jasmine.
We spoke with Attorney Bancroft's office last week.
Yes, ma'am.
Just some of those investigations into the actual gangway. Just explain some of the physical things that came out of those investigations.
Yes, ma'am.
One of them was recently, about a month ago.
Yes, ma'am. So the complaint really is going to be your best guide with that. But what I can tell you is we figured out through an examination of the gangway the load capacity and that it was not efficiently met that day. We figured out, for example, the kind of damage physically that happened as a result of the gangway collapse. We actually went out to the scene before the gangway was re-erected and got a chance to inspect the scene and see, you know, what was there. And again, if you've never been there, you know, being where that gangway collapsed would be tantamount to being at the base of a dam. I mean, the current is intense beyond belief. And so we got a chance to really kind of see all of the available physical evidence that we could find that led to civil action. Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall in those records them talking about a crack that had been previously noted?
Yes, sir.
I think there was an email chain between
Yes, sir.
several folks.
Yeah, so that's noted. What I remember to is correct. There was someone from UGA that came out and noted, hey, look, this gangway is cracking, it's popping, and requested that help come out and do an inspection. And so someone said, hey, look, we'll come out, we'll get on a boat, we'll look at it. But still, you know, miraculously and unfortunately, this happened. You know, if there had been an appropriate inspection done long ago, we would have had a gangway replaced and we wouldn't have had lives lost. So that's what I make of that. Any questions?
Hi, Tim Carlin. I work with Action News Jax. A lot of coverage that we have done personally has been speaking with families of those who lost their lives.
Yes, sir.
Speaking with survivors as you've done.
Yes, sir.
Over the course of the time you've been working to build this complaint and not going into too much you can't say, is there any one story or any one thing
You know, and maybe you've heard the quote, there was someone that came along and described the World War, and this author said, the dead. And kind of what happened, there were babies that turned blue. There were mothers that almost lost their lives saving babies. There were people thrown on the shore dead. There was a mother tried to rescue her uncle. Her uncle was holding on to her book bag and she couldn't do it anymore. And so there's not one story. And let's say this is symbolic of the disrespect for the lives of black people. If it had been a more affluent area, we would have had a gangway and no lives lost. And this is unfortunate, and this has got to change. And this mentality of a lot of society. And so what we can all agree on is that nobody to get to and from a place. And those lives, the stories that were shared to me and with me, no one stands out. All of them are moving, and sometimes I struggle to compose myself when I think about them. So, any other questions? Okay, I want to thank y'all for coming, and I want to encourage everybody in this room. There are no big eyes and the U's. A lot of times that lawyers are in the universe, conception, and in fact, it is flat wrong. It is the community that makes things move. And if you got about it. You need to write your local elected officials. You need to demand justice in high places. And you need to tune into this case and have an opinion about it one way or the other. Because think about it. Coastal Georgia and places like it is a place of gangways. Water life is important here. Being able to get to and from an island, being able to get to and from a place on the water is an essential way of life. And in Sapelo Island today, it might be your gangway tomorrow. And so we want to prevent unnecessary loss of life, and we want to maximize the amount of safety around. I want to thank you for your time and attention, and we want to pay tribute and homage to Sapelo Island victims and the Sapelo 7 because their lives were important too. Thank you very much. This will conclude this press conference.